Thanksgiving, you're our feast. Human flesh fills the mouths of the Mahomes family. Bob, the most sinister man to ever have taken a breath on earth, just executed a family of 3 just over 8 hours ago. His wife Susan, along with the help of her favorite child Eric, skinned the entire family and cooked up their skin for hours, and now they're enjoying them with a side of mashed potatoes and corn. Delicious, Mom, spoke Erica, the daughter Susan has always regretted having, given the fact that she knows her daughter is completely identical to her, or at least how she used to be. Her daughter just may be more ruthless than she can ever imagine, which concerns her given the way she was when she was around her daughter's age. Susan brought plenty of drama and heartaches to her family way back when, which almost led to her parents being murdered by the man she loved very much just before she met Bob. It was then her murderous ways were exposed. The cannibal within her unleashed the fatal night she killed her high school sweetheart for attempting to murder her and her family. Susan brought heartaches, stress, and drama to her parents every so often, and her daughter Erica is so much worse than she ever was. Dozens of teens, teachers, cops, and even politicians no longer exist due to Erica's actions. She's a troublemaker who's pure evil that follows her every direction she goes, and one day, Susan is fearful it'll lead to all of their demises. She didn't respond to her daughter's words. Instead, she shrugged her shoulders, almost not even acknowledging her daughter's words. Erica senses the tension between her and her mother. She has no clue why no matter what she does, her mother just refuses to get closer to her. "The food is good, my child," Bob shouted to the very top of his lungs. "You know Thanksgiving's coming up, and I don't expect anything less than a buffet of people to eat." They all chuckled, even though Bob's being brutally honest. Eric continued eating, not speaking a word. Mentally, he's just not all there, which is why he's never a part of any of their conversations. That bothers Bob the utmost. He wants his son taking action similar to how his very own daughter takes action. However, his wife keeps babying him. Bob examined his son, who failed to use his spoon to eat. Instead, he used his hands. "It's good, isn't it?" Bob asked, causing his son to agree. "Eric, you're growing older, boy, and it's about time for you to become a man." Erica blurted out aloud, "Are you going to get him a stripper?" She laughed. Bob smirked. However, Susan wasn't amused by her daughter's words. A slick comment such as that one that's caused a rift in their relationship. "Oh no, you're not getting no stripper for my baby boy," Susan shouted. Bob shook his head. "Honey, of course not. I wouldn't dare subject any self-respecting whore to subject themselves to your baby boy, Eric. Hell, he'll eat her before he were to ever try to screw her." Erica laughed. "What a crying shame," she chimed in. Susan shook her head in disgust. "Now you listen up, and you listen good, my baby boy. Eric is not about to mess around with no tramp," she exclaimed. Bob agreed. "Honey dearest, rest assured, I would never force no poor innocent girl to deal with our baby boy," Bob clarified. "But the time has come for him to man up. Erica and I have done enough for this family over the years, and now it's time for Eric to man up. This Thanksgiving, our chef of a monstrous boy becomes an evil murdering psychopath." Susan rolled her eyes, but before she could dare speak a word, Bob continued. "No boy of mine is going to be a punk his whole life," he made known. "So Eric, this Thanksgiving is your time to shine." Erica applauded her father as she usually does, while being overwhelmed with glee Eric, I have just the right two people for you to start with. Erica chimed in. Dad, I invited over a couple of my friends from school. I invited them over for Thanksgiving Eve, is what I told them. But really, I invited them over to be our Thanksgiving Day feast. Bob snickered. Sweet daughter of mine, you are by far my favorite, he stated. Time traveled by, and in no time, James and Jasmine arrived over to the Mahomes home with weed and plenty of alcohol. Erica greeted them and invited them into her home as her parents sat in the living room watching television. Eric was nowhere to be found as Erica bypassed her parents and made her way upstairs to her bedroom. Crackling sounds sounded off as Erica, James, and Jasmine reached upstairs as their feet stumped on the wooden floor. There stood a huge figure in the center of the hallway, frightening both James and Jasmine. What the hell is that? James shouted, causing Erica to laugh loudly. That's just my big, stupid, dumb brother, she insisted, while walking right past him to make her way into her bedroom. Eric didn't budge an inch. He didn't flinch. Instead, he just stood there in the center of the hallway, gazing at Jasmine, which made her uncomfortable. Both James and Jasmine were hesitant to maneuver around Eric as Erica insisted that he was harmless. Come on, guys. Don't pay him any mind, she says. Jasmine followed behind James, who served as her shield, protecting her from the big, gigantic, creepy-looking guy gawking right at her. She shoved James in the back to force him to scurry past Eric. They immediately rushed into Erica's bedroom, where Jasmine slammed the door closed. Creepy. I'm sorry, Erica, but your brother is creepy, says Jasmine right before Erica uncorked a bottle of liquor that was just seated on her dresser. He is, isn't he? She replied before swallowing a mouthful of liquor straight from out of the bottle that she then handed over to Jasmine. Jasmine, not known to be a heavy drinker, could feel the peer pressure coming from Erica, who began hyping her up, causing her to nearly swallow the remaining bottle of liquor whole. James' eyes widened as he began having devious thoughts, as just how wild and crazy this night will eventually become. Little before you knew it, 8 bottles of liquor were empty and James could barely stand upright. As Erica observed both James and Jasmine, barely any liquor has even touched Erica's tongue, let alone ran down into her system. Therefore, she is far from drunk. I can't say the same for Jasmine, who's struggling to hold herself together as she's checking bottle after bottle for more alcohol. Where's your bathroom? Asked Jasmine, struggling to stay upright. Erica glared at her sinisterly while thinking unimaginable thoughts. It's down the hall, 3 doors to the left, she replied while chuckling. Jasmine couldn't understand what was so funny, but that didn't stop her from exiting from out of the bedroom to make her way to the restroom. She remembered exactly what Erica told her. It's 3 doors down to the left, and that's exactly where Jasmine ended up. She knocked on the door before she gingerly opened it up. It was there she spotted Erica's giant brother sitting on the edge of his bed, staring right at her, as if he were waiting for her this entire time. Jasmine's eyes widened as her heart raced. She tried to back away. However, there just behind her stood Erica, signaling to her brother. What are you waiting for? Attack her, you big doofus, she shouted. Eric wasted no time rushing over to Jasmine with a butcher knife in hand. He injected the knife into Jasmine's stomach several dozen times in a matter of seconds. Jasmine's dead corpse fell down to the floor as Erica ordered her brother to her room to get rid of the other person. In Erica's room, lying on his back, staring at the ceiling, was James, who began hearing thunderous thuds making its way towards the room which he currently resides. The door swung open, and there stood Erica's beastly-looking brother with a bloody butcher knife in hand. Erica chuckled as she stood behind her brother. "Finish him," she insisted, urging her brother to annihilate James, who bawled out for mercy. "No, no, no," he shouted as Eric slaughtered him into pieces with his now new favorite toy, a huge sword-sized butcher knife. "Parents, dinner is served," shouted Erica loudly as she laughed nonstop.